I don't really know, but that's typically the way these distillers do when their juice isn't up to par. They create another
assumption,
brand.
I think, for sure.
But yeah,
give it a taste.
That's so annoying. Going to talk to you today about hunt club bars and possibly the home bar. We'll see. Show what we got today that we're going to sip on for this conversation. We got the ancient age 10 star and a Blanton store pick I found. The main reason I picked these is because ancient age is the distiller for Mash Bill 2, and as we know, Blanton's is Mash Bill 2. So I was just kind of curious on how similar they tasted side by side.
Yeah.
Figure we give it a whirl.
Cool.
But yeah, one of the things that we wanted to discuss is going out to the hunt club, chatting with your fellow hunters, and whiskey's going to come up for sure, right?
Yep. Cheers.
So, kind of, what do you need at the hunt club as opposed to what you may need in your home bar?
Yeah.
And one of the main things that we've kind of worked out is some way to measure, it's some way to stir, and you had a good idea on the strainer thing. Well,
yeah, so at home I use kind of a crystal. I like to use a crystal glass mixing glass with the strainer that goes on the top for the sake of being able to pack things up and store and it be a little more less fragile, if you will. The bar shaker that comes with the little top that pops off and has the strainer built into it is a great option. Mm-hmm. You can just pop the cap on. You can gently shake it. You don't have to worry about bringing an extra spoon to stir, and you can store stuff inside of it.
Yep. Because one of the things you're definitely going to need is a jigger.
Yep. And, so you can measure.
So there's a lot of different ones, but one of the problems that we both have is we get one that's 2 ounces on one side and an ounce on the other. And then when it comes time to do the mixing, you do an ounce of something sugary, you turn it upside down, you have little circles all over it.
It makes a mess.
It makes a mess. And so one of the things we wanted to recommend was a jigger that has lines on it, so you're only using the one side. Plus, you can do the sugary stuff first and then the whiskey on top, and it'll help clean it out quicker. If you're at the hunt club, and there's several different things that this usually goes towards, everybody comes home at the end of the evening, we're not hunting and drinking. It's usually you go hunting,
This is
then you
after
come
the
back,
fact.
talk about your day, but a lot of people don't want to drink straight whiskey. They want some kind of mixer. And so to keep it safe and easy at the hunt club, that's like probably the only two things you really need outside of something to enhance flavors. Like we sell a cocktail smoker kit. It's a wood block. It's made of bourbon barrels, and you just light it on fire, put your glass on top, and it smokes the inside of the glass. And that's great for making your whiskey expand longer, because you're not only getting the same, you can drink one whiskey straight, one whiskey with a smoked glass, and you're going to get two different experiences out of it. So it'll make one bottle become 2 drinks, and then you add cocktails into it, and it's 3 drinks.
Yep.
But outside of like a hunting property, there's not a whole lot of things that you really have to worry about when it comes to making drinks, because most hunters are pretty laid back.
Yeah. You're not going to get a whole lot of folks, I think, at the hunt club after a weekend or a night or an evening or afternoon in the field. I don't think you're going to get anybody you offer a whiskey to and they turn their nose up to it, or,
Yeah.
In fact, you're probably going to get more people in most hunt clubs that are willing to drink your whiskey neat or maybe on the rocks, and not so much with the cocktails. That's how we prefer to drink whiskey most of the times. But I will not turn down or turn away from trying a good cocktail. So having those things available at the hunt club in the pre-mixed mixer format that you can buy, instead of having a bunch of different ingredients you have to either try and keep cold or keep track of, it's just easier to have your whiskey, you have your glasses, your mixing container, and your mixer, and you're done. It just makes it a lot more simple.
Yeah. And that's one of the reasons that we sell a bitter milk cocktail mix, but one of the reasons why is they basically take an old fashioned and they blend it all together and put it in a barrel, and they age it in a barrel, and it complements our smoker kit really well. But we love old fashions, and to remember to bring the sugar and the Agnostora bitters and a muddler and cherries, it's just a lot of stuff.
It's just a lot, yeah.
Especially when you may not have means to cool it. And that's another side of it is doing whiskey on the rocks. A lot of times you're bringing a bag of ice with you and throwing it in, if you have a freezer, just keep it in the cooler.
Mm-hmm.
But having one of those mixers allows you to put the ice in it, chill the drink down.
Yeah.
Because those tiny little ice cubes that come out of like chipped ice, it's going to water your drink down way too much.
Yeah, and it happens fast because they're so small. What about whiskey itself, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, you're going to bring whiskey. We didn't cover glasses. Whatever glasses you have or can work with. I mean, sometimes depending where you're going, you got to bring solo cups or plastic cups.
Some people most hunters have some kind of Yeti or tumbler around. That seems like a hunter deal.
And the low ball type Yeti or even like the smaller 16 ounce are great for pouring a drink into, sharing a cocktail. You just make work whatever you can. Obviously, you're not going to have, or probably not going to carry Glencairns or low ball rocks glasses out to the hunt club. It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
They're bound to be broken. Someone's going to knock it off.
Exactly. That's really kind of the basics of what you need in terms of a bar at the hunt club. But you don't have a bar if you don't have whiskey to drink with it, or to put in it. So we have some unique opinions about whiskey you should have at a hunt club, which may differ from what you would think our opinion would be.
Yeah. Yep.
Why don't you share?
Yeah, there's a lot of people think that, and this just goes to building a bar in general, which we're going to do a video on that as well. But a lot of people think that you should buy this really fancy bottle, where maybe to someone that's, I mean, I really can't think of anyone that would be like, yes, that's correct. Because if you're not into whiskey, you wouldn't even know what the fancy bottle is. But if you are into whiskey, you would probably want more of a selection variety than just one bottle.
Yeah.
And those bottles are typically expensive. You bring out a $100 bottle, it's going to be drank that night, where you could bring 4 or 5 in the $15 to $30 range.
Exactly.
And it'll last.
I tend to think of things in comparisons or analogies. So I think of it like you can spend the money, all the money you'd have to spend to buy a Bugatti or a Ferrari or whatever, right? And that's the only car you have. And that's a nice ride and it's going to be a lot of fun, but it's going to be the same ride every time you get in it. You could take that same budget. You could buy a nice truck. You could buy a nice little sedan or sports car.
Maybe even a
Jeep,
golf cart.
Maybe even a boat. And you could get a plethora of experiences for the same price is kind of what we're getting at. When you bring whiskey, a selection to a hunt club, you're going to be a little limited unless you're keeping it out there with what you bring anyways. Yeah. So bringing a select few that cover a range of whiskey types, rye, bourbon, whatever you like or your hunting partners like, is going to, I think, probably lend to being a better experience and a better, allowing you to better entertain your friends.
The other thing too is if you're the whiskey guy at the hunting property, like we are, we're always, anytime we go hunting, we're the whiskey guys. We like to give that experience in range anyway. We want everyone to taste a couple of different things. Yeah. And we kind of talk about it. And a lot of times we'll start with something basic like a whiskey, or maybe we'll upgrade to a bourbon. But we'll bring a rye and some kind of Irish whiskey and just one of each types. And you could be like, this is the difference. Because a lot of people don't even know where to start when it comes to whiskey.
Yeah.
You know, because what is your flavor profile? Most people go straight to Scotch because they see it in the movies. And the guy with the cigarette, and it's sexy. But
yeah, it just is. Yeah.
Yeah. But the reality is, I mean, we drink everything under the moon. I mean, we're sitting next to a $16 bottle and then, Blanton's, which I hate that we're even putting this in our first.
Blanton's?
Yeah, because neither of us are huge fans of it. We're actually getting ready to talk trash about it because we're going to finish this and pour that in it and see how similar it is. It's probably
more similar than those of you that are fans are going to be happy to hear. But, it is what it is.
Yeah. So having a good selection. So if you were to name, we'll do 2 whiskeys. If you were to name 2 whiskey or bourbon, and then we'll do an Irish and a rye. So if you were to name 2 whiskeys or bourbons, what would be the 2 that you would have in your bag for a hunt club?
For a hunt club? So for a hunt club, I'm going to look for something that is versatile, meaning, and I mean that in a number of different ways. One, I want it to be affordable. If I'm taking it to a hunt club, the bottle's going to get drank most likely.
For sure. No one's going to leave that for you.
Yeah, there's a chance it's going to go in cocktails or by itself or neat or on the rocks. So I want something that's going to work, but also be affordable. Like I don't want to spend $160 and then slam through it making cocktails and everything else. I'm probably going to pick something along the lines of Jim Beam White Label, Evan Williams Bottled and Bond, even like a Wild Turkey 101. Those are all affordable. They're easy to get a hold of. People can enjoy them in a number of different ways, and you're not going to break the bank.
Yeah, we've noticed that, especially at hunt clubs, if you give somebody Jim Beam white label without the label, like just pour them a dram, take it over and give it to them, they'll be like, "This is tasty. What is this?" It's just something about your eyes seeing that it's Jim Beam. You're like, "No, you can only drink that with Coke."
Yep.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think my two would be the Jim Beam white label and the Bottled and Bond Evan Williams. Early Times also makes a really good bourbon.
Oh yeah.
That if you can find it, I guess you have some troubles finding it. I typically see it pretty often.
It may just be that it's not on the forefront of my mind, so I'm not looking for it. But
it's kind of a Crayola looking bottle. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not really. It doesn't stand out.
Fair enough.
So how about we'll do the rye? What's a rye you would pick?
I had a rye recently that was really good. Colonel Taylor. I don't know if I'm bringing that to the hunt club though.
Yeah, it's sitting over there staring at us.
Elijah Craig's rye is pretty good, and it's affordable.
It's one thing you'll find annoying is we have similar but different palates. But when it comes to cheap bourbon, our palates are the same. When it comes to kind of a pricier, Gus is more of a, it's kind of worth it, kind of not.
Well, the pricey stuff just some of it starts to get up there in proof, and sometimes I think that's the distillers trying to like just create a thing that's got a lot of proof. And it's like my palate, I prefer things in the 1 to 1, no more than 110, just where I feel like I get the most flavor out of a whiskey.
I'm right there with you. That Elijah Craig rye is
really good.
Yeah,
I like it a lot.
I'm a big fan. All right, so we're probably going to pick the same Irish whiskey too, but I'll do mine first, so I don't like I'm always coattailing.
Go ahead.
So working in the bar industry, Jameson was the thing.
Yeah.
That's what everyone does. I mean, if you go to a bar today and you're like, "Hey, let me get 2 shots of Jameson, one for me, one for you," they'll be like, they'll do it with you, and they'll typically pay for it.
Yeah,
because it's sometimes bars allow them to give away Jameson shots, or for the staff themselves to have Jameson shots.
Right.
So it's a trick to get a free shot here and there. But yeah, Jameson would probably be my pick for an Irish whiskey, and that's another one where people are used to shooting it. But if you actually sip Jameson,
it's not bad.
It's pretty good.
Yeah,
pretty tasty.
Yeah.
But yeah, was that your pick as well?
Yeah, that would have been my pick. Or I mean, there's some other ones, but it's. In terms of what fits a hunt club,
small budget.
Looking for small budget and easily accessible, an overall good whiskey.
That's the other thing too. A lot of these towns you go to when you're on these hunting trips, they're not going to have a great selection.
That's exactly what I was thinking about. Is like I want to put together sort of a tasting or a flavor profile for a group of guys. Like, what can I pick up readily at an ABC store or a liquor store in the middle of nowhere?
Because as you know, as a hunter, it's the traveling thing. You're already bringing your bow and you're bringing all kinds of stuff, and to add 4 whiskey bottles to it, it's too much. But these are 4 things that you can definitely put on your list that once you get to the destination, it's pretty much guaranteed they're going to have those 4 things.
And those are just recommendations. There's dozens of others that you could substitute for any one of those.
But if you don't know any better, if you're just like, what kind of whiskey should I take on a hunting trip? We're glad you're here, because that's
exactly, those are good recommendations. And I think if you were putting together a tasting for friends, you could bring those whiskeys and give them a pretty good experience.
I would just recommend do it blind. You want to hide it.
That's fun.
Yeah. It's crazy when you hide the label, you take away that forefront thought, how much people's opinions change. Because we've done it before at hunt clubs where people come in and they're like, I don't like that. It's like, all right, well, I won't pour that then.
And then you pour
exactly that. And then I pour it. Yeah. I'm like, this is really good. This is a 10-year delicious caramel.
I can taste it.
There's some pecan, and they're like, wow, this is really good. Like, gotcha. So to kind of wrap it up, here's that bland. There's not a lot of difference in the nose.
Not in the nose. I think Blanton's, I would say, is maybe a little sweeter, probably because it's probably aged a little bit longer.
Yeah, I think
so. It picks up a little bit more of some of those.
For sure.
Some of those notes from the char and the oak, but overall, the smell's not that much different.
I'm pretty sure that this is what happens when you don't, like, whoever's tasting that day, and they're like, this barrel is not Blanton's.
So as they're blending, you think they taste this?
Well, these are all single barrels. I don't know that these are. I don't think these are. I think it would say it right there on the front if it was, but I think they probably take not good enough to be single barrel.
I see what you're saying.
And then they blend it together into that.
Yeah. I see what you're saying.
I mean, I don't really know, but that's typically the way these distillers do when their juice isn't up to par. They create
it's a
another
fair
brand.
Assumption, I think, for sure.
But yeah,
give it a taste.
That's so annoying. Leather. I get some leather on that. This is also a store pick, so it's
interesting. That is not the typical typically what I get with Blanton's.
Me neither. So it may be the store pick screwing us up here, which, you know, we've had multiple conversations with people that go, store pick, they're the same thing.
Yeah.
If you really believe that, then why would store picks exist? What it is they have a taste profile. They put out that taste profile, and then they have things that don't fit that taste profile. And typically they're older. They're not the same age. It's barrels that they just had longer. They weren't ready. And now they don't taste like Blanton's. They send those samples out to the stores, and the stores pick them. Why would a store ever spend the money on a store pick if it wasn't better than regular?
Yeah.
And the big argument with that is I think people that just don't know how to taste whiskey.
Yeah, it's. I mean, if you don't understand the process, I see how you could easily make that assumption or have that misunderstanding. Right. But it's a pretty detailed, involved process. So
yeah, it's huge, and there's millions of dollars spent in it every year.
Yeah.
So if it wasn't worth it, I mean, store picks are a huge thing once you get into the bourbon community and you start to realize it. It's
people collect them. People are they're sought after.
Yeah, and we have the ability to run store picks in one of our things that we're working on. We just haven't figured out how to do it yet, but we'll keep you in touch.
Yeah, stay tuned. We have a lot of cool stuff in the works, and you're going to want to be here for it for sure.
Yeah. So if you like the video, if you got any inkling of good ideas for your hunt club, just hit the like button. And if you want to see more, maybe follow us. You know, we don't have to turn notifications on. You got to do all that stuff, but you know, if you hit the like button, it helps other people like you see it. Algorithms.
That's right. Algorithms, math, stuff.
That's it. So,
all right. Till next time.
See y'all.
Adios.